Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera bagi kita semua. Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, dan salam kebajikan. Senang sekali pada pagi hari yang berbahagia ini, saya Rachel Gloriosa dari Manajemen Pelaksana Program Kartu Prakerja hadir sebagai MC sekaligus moderator untuk webinar hari ini. Saya ucapkan selamat datang dalam webinar kolaborasi Prakerja dengan LinkedIn Southeast Asia, Job Trends Unveiled, Shaping the Future of Indonesia's Workforce. Pada hari ini, kita akan membahas mendalami lebih lanjut mengenai tren pekerjaan di Indonesia serta kebutuhan skills yang sedang in demand di Indonesia menurut temuan LinkedIn Southeast Asia. Perlu saya ingatkan juga kepada hadirin untuk rename Zoom-nya ya, dengan format nama, lalu strip instansi. Hadirin juga dipersilahkan untuk menggunakan kolom Q&A yang berada di bawah bagian Zoom-nya untuk memberikan pertanyaan pada sesi questions and answers nanti. Sesi ini juga akan dipublikasikan nantinya lewat YouTube Prakerja dan akan terupload pada akun YouTube Prakerja dalam beberapa hari. Nah, pada sesi pagi ini kita sudah ada yang sudah hadir bersama kita, yaitu Ibu Deni Puspapurbasari, Direktur Eksekutif Manajemen Pelaksana Program Kartu Prakerja, dan juga Miss Trisha Suresh, Kepala Kebijakan Publik dan Grafik Ekonomi LinkedIn Asia Tenggara. Karena rasanya belum resmi dimulai jika kita belum mendengarkan sambutan sekaligus pembukaan, Ibu Deni saya persilahkan untuk memberikan sepatah dua patah kata kepada hadirin yang berbahagia di sini. Silakan Ibu Deni, waktu dan tempatnya.
Baik, terima kasih. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera untuk kita semua. Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, salam kebajikan. Selamat pagi Bapak dan Ibu serta teman-teman semuanya. Pertama-tama saya ingin sampaikan terima kasih telah bergabung di webinar yang diadakan oleh PMO Kartu Prakerja bekerja sama dengan LinkedIn Southeast Asia. Bapak dan Ibu sekalian, skill gap, skill mismatch, fenomena over education but under skill, youth, NEET, pengangguran terdidik, bonus demografi, kita semua sudah tahu. Namun, apa yang bisa kita lakukan? Prakerja hadir untuk semua kalangan, bukan hanya penganggur atau pencari kerja, tapi juga pekerja atau wirausaha aktif. Karena dunia kerja terus berubah, untuk beradaptasi, tumbuh dan bertahan, kita semua butuh skills. Prakerja menggunakan pendekatan pragmatis, merujuk pada laporan-laporan kredibel dan data job portal termasuk LinkedIn. Dari LinkedIn kita tahu tren pekerjaan kerah putih, sektor yang merekrutnya, dan juga skill yang dibutuhkan dalam pekerjaan tersebut. Dari informasi skill dan job ini, Prakerja menyediakan pelatihan yang bersesuaian, seperti pelatihan sustainability reporting, carbon accounting. Itu adalah pekerjaan-pekerjaan green skills top in demand di LinkedIn untuk Indonesia. Juga pelatihan copywriting, Python, UI UX, software quality assurance, talent acquisition, dan lain-lain, itu juga ada di Prakerja. Bapak dan Ibu sekalian, LinkedIn juga menyediakan pelatihan microskilling sama seperti Prakerja. Karena memang tren di dunia mengarah kepada short intensive training untuk microskilling. Program vokasi 12 atau 6 bulan dirasa terlalu lama dan mahal. Mereka semua itu mengarah kepada 3 bulan bahkan lebih pendek lagi. Prakerja sebaliknya, kita berawal dari pelatihan dengan durasi minimal 2 jam ke 6 jam dan sekarang ini ke 15 jam atau ekuivalen dengan 1,5 bulan perjumpaan dalam kuliah yang rata-ratanya 2,5 jam per minggu. Karena baseline user Prakerja berbeda, maka karena itu di Prakerja kita memulai dengan jam yang relatif lebih pendek. Nah, 86 peserta Prakerja belum pernah ikut pelatihan atau kursus atau training sebelumnya dan hanya 15% yang berpendidikan diploma atau sarjana. Persentase jumlah peserta Kartu Prakerja dengan pendidikan diploma atau sarjana ini lebih tinggi daripada angka persentase tenaga kerja kita atau angkatan kerja kita dengan pendidikan diploma atau sarjana. Nah, Bapak dan Ibu, semoga acara hari ini memberikan insights bagi kita semua. Kita tidak boleh gentar dalam pertandingan antara skills dan teknologi ini, tapi mari kita berkolaborasi melakukan yang bisa kita lakukan untuk meningkatkan produktivitas SDM Indonesia. Dan terakhir untuk Trisha, saya ucapkan terima kasih mau membagi insights ini. Ini kali ketiga Trisha membagikan informasi dari LinkedIn kepada Prakerja. Dan saya sudah memberikan translation dari apa yang saya sampaikan ini dalam bahasa Inggris kepada Trisha. Semoga Trisha dapat berbagi dengan rileks, dengan casual kepada kita dalam 1 jam ke depan. Terima kasih. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Terima kasih Bu Deni atas sambutannya. Semoga webinar pada hari ini bisa menginspirasi kita semua untuk terus belajar, terutama mengenai tren pekerjaan yang sedang berlangsung di Indonesia. Nah, hadirin yang berbahagia, kini kita sudah memasuki sesi yang kita paling tunggu-tunggu. Kami mempersilahkan Ibu Trisha Suresh, Kepala Kebijakan Publik dan Grafik Ekonomi LinkedIn Asia Tenggara, untuk mempresentasikan paparannya. To Ms. Trisha, we welcome you to share your intriguing insights to the audiences, and we are pretty sure you have lots to share with the audiences for today. So please, Ms. Trisha.
Thank you, Rachel. Very good morning to everybody, and very good morning again, Ibu Deni. Thank you so much for having us. I know it's only the 3rd time that I'm presenting today these insights, but very welcome and very happy to continue supporting Prakerja in understanding the job trends for Indonesia on the LinkedIn platform. I have a few slides, and I'm going to share my screen now. Gloria, can you see my screen clearly? Yeah, okay, great. Great. So a very good morning again, everybody. My name is Trisha Suresh, and I lead public policy engagements for Southeast Asia at LinkedIn. So for today's presentation, I will be sharing some insights that we are seeing on the LinkedIn platform on jobs, skills, and trends in Indonesia, and to what Ibu Deni said, to hopefully unveil some of these insights to support more of the productivity and upskilling and reskilling efforts that Prakerja and the team continue to invest in. Let's go to the next slide. I'd like to start with LinkedIn's vision, because it's really the foundation for everything that we're talking about today. LinkedIn's vision is to create economic opportunity for every member of the global workforce. This is our true north. It is everything that we do to drive the products that we build on the platform, the data insights that we develop, and the types of partnerships we develop with government organizations all across the world. Now, with LinkedIn, I thought to also share a little bit about the platform and how we operate, and then diving into the data insights that we are seeing today. So LinkedIn, as I said, is the world's largest professional network. We have products or a platform to support our members. These are usually job seekers, but not everybody's always looking for a job. And then we've got customers, and these are companies and enterprises that leverage LinkedIn products and tools to grow their business. So for the individual, somebody like you and I, what we want to use LinkedIn for is essentially to advance our career. So we're on LinkedIn every day to really get the right job, build our network, which is so important, and then also ultimately learn from our network to stay well informed, to understand what companies want by way of skills and the jobs that are in demand, and ultimately the objective of advancing our career. Now, for our customers or our enterprises and companies that use the LinkedIn platform, there are several ways in which they use the platform. One is which they hire. So this is probably the product that you might be most familiar with on the LinkedIn platform. Companies have job postings. They recruit on the LinkedIn platform. There are also learning products, what we call LinkedIn Learning, to help companies upskill their workers. Companies also use the LinkedIn platform to market and to sell, and this is always a B2B audience. Now, I know we have a number of folks from universities across Indonesia, so I wanted to also spend just a short minute to share a little bit about how a student might use the LinkedIn platform. So students can use LinkedIn in different ways. You have to be at least 16 to be on LinkedIn. But you can, for example, when you're accepted into school, especially higher education, you can create a LinkedIn platform to start building your network. And the network that you build is so important, because what we see on LinkedIn is that you're 4 times more likely to get a job at a company where you know somebody. So we need to support our youth, our young people, as soon as they start thinking about their career, to start also thinking about their network. So there are different ways in which they would then use the platform. One is, say they're interested in an internship or a job on LinkedIn. They might reach out to somebody who's working at the company to set up informational interviews. They can explore new career opportunities, their job postings that I'll show you in a second. And more importantly, it's also to learn in-demand skills. So there is a set of online courses, more than 22,000 expert-led online courses on LinkedIn from our LinkedIn Learning product. And this is where students can learn those in-demand skills, because learning does not stop in the school. They can also connect with alumni in their fields, continue to sharpen their job-seeking skills, and then ultimately network and land their dream job. So really, there are many ways in which a student or young person who's fresh out of university or vocational institutions can leverage the LinkedIn product. Now, moving on to LinkedIn as a product, LinkedIn as a platform. As I said, we have we're the world's largest professional network. We have over 1 billion members globally. Over 67 million companies use LinkedIn. There are over 14 million jobs available, 41,000 skills that we track, we've organized in our skills taxonomy, and 133,000 schools that are represented on the LinkedIn platform. In Indonesia, we're very proud to share that we have over 24 million members and 120,000 companies. And I think this number has now increased to 25 million. I think I checked it just a few hours ago. It is now 25 million members on LinkedIn platform for Indonesia. So every day, people come to the platform to learn, upskill, connect with individuals, and they ultimately build a LinkedIn profile for the individual. So what LinkedIn does is that we use data science to transform an individual's work experience, their school experience, their skills, their education, to data sets that really support research and policy making. And these are the insights that I'm eager to share with you today. Now, for LinkedIn, there are 2 ways in which we generate or gather some of the insights that I'll share with you. One is based on an individual's LinkedIn profile, which I showed just before the slide. But then there are also job postings and companies that use LinkedIn to recruit. We can also analyze the skills that are in demand, the industries that are hiring, and how people are moving between these industries, jobs, and sectors. So ultimately, what LinkedIn is very much a talent marketplace. I've been speaking for maybe a few minutes now, and every second there are 5 new members that join LinkedIn. So as we've been speaking, there are several people who join LinkedIn, and there are more than 6 hires per minute. So there have been people who've been hired on the LinkedIn platform, and there are 5 million updates per minute. And when I say updates, these are profile updates, but then also people sharing information on the LinkedIn newsfeed. I now want to move into some of the in-demand jobs and skills on LinkedIn. So what we analyze jobs on the rise or emerging jobs every year. This is the 15 jobs on the rise for Indonesia that was published in January 2023. We'll be publishing the next iteration of this in just a month. We're already in December. So in January or early next year, we will release the next set of jobs on the rise. And what we noticed that this list at least is from earlier this year. But what we see is that 10 out of 15 of the jobs that are emerging on the rise in Indonesia require digital skills. Now, we probably also see this thanks to a lot of the initiatives from the government, all the upskilling and digital skilling programs that we put in place, the many programs that Prakerja in itself are running to upskill workers with digital skills and then ultimately help employers find right talent. Now, I know we're talking about skills, but I also just want to share how important it is to talk about, I know we're talking about jobs, but I want to share how important it is to also speak about skills and reframe this idea of not just thinking about jobs, but looking at the skills required for jobs. So we've been doing some analysis on how skills needed for a job are changing. And what we found is that between 2015 and 2022, the skills needed for jobs in Indonesia have changed by over 20%. By 2025, we expect that skills needed for a job would have changed by over 40% when compared to 2015. Now, this is for somebody who's not even changed jobs, right? So we're not saying you have to change your job in order for you to see that skills needed have changed, but skills needed for jobs are changing so quickly. And this is really driven by the digital transformation and also the green transformation, both of which I'll touch on shortly. I wanted to also share some of the examples of skills that are coming up for the jobs on the rise that I showed earlier. So one of the most common job on the rise for Indonesia is content planner. And some of the common skills that are required for a content planner include copywriting, content strategy, social media marketing. Some of these are digital, others are broader than just tech and digital skills. The second most top job on the rise in Indonesia is a data science specialist. And these are some of the examples of skills required for the job. And then we've also got talent acquisition specialists. Maybe companies in Indonesia are hiring a lot. And for that, you probably need more of the soft skills, but then also some organizational skills and people skills. Now, the full list that I showed on the slide earlier, the jobs on the rise, they're available publicly. So if you just do a quick search of LinkedIn's job on the rise Indonesia, you will find the full list as well as the most common skills and then a little bit more information on the type of talent that have these skills. I wanted to also share some examples of skills needed for the tech industry. Now, we talked a little bit about how digital skills and the tech jobs are on the rise in Indonesia based on the LinkedIn member base in Indonesia. So what we see is that there's an interesting overlap, or rather, there's an interesting opportunity for Indonesia to upskill in more technical, more disruptive, more advanced digital skills. If I look at the most characteristic skills of just the tech industry by country, this data needs to be updated a little bit, but this is from 2021. In Indonesia, some of the tech workers in the tech industry have Photoshop, have Illustrator, have Premium Pro skills, but they lack some of the more disruptive, advanced technical skills that are so in demand today. So if you look at some other countries there, if you look at Singapore that has a tech industry as well, you do see that some of the skills required in Singapore with tech workers happen to be more of the coding and software skills. So there's an opportunity here to look at where Indonesia stands by way of the skills that tech workers have, because you're trying to build a thriving digital and tech sector, and where other countries in the region are. I wanted to also share a little bit about how we can think about upskilling workers quickly for the in-demand jobs. Now, we know that skills are changing very quickly. We know that we need to upskill workers in Indonesia for these jobs, but how can we do this in a manner that's going to meet employer and industry demand in a timely manner? So at LinkedIn, we've been doing a lot of analysis on what we call skills-first approach to hiring. Now, I won't show this chart first because it can get confusing. But when I think about how we hire today, we consider that a traditional approach of hiring. We would probably hire, an employer would probably hire based on where somebody has gone to school, whether they've had exactly the same job or a similar job, and then they would choose to hire somebody. But when skills are changing so quickly and jobs are changing, and there's an in-demand job set and in-demand skills, how can we now think about helping employers find the right talent and quickly? Now, if employers switch to this skills-first approach, which means looking at a candidate's skills instead of a candidate's job experience or the exact university or vocational institution that they might have graduated from 10 years ago, we find that if they look at an individual's skills, the talent pool that employers can tap on is significantly larger. So in the financial services industry, for example, if we look at a skills-first approach to hiring, It expands the talent pool, which means the number of workers is 10 times larger, as opposed to looking for talent based on just looking at qualifications and just looking at prior job experience. So there's a real opportunity here to support the talent demand in particular to drive some of these key industries and improve productivity and opportunities for Indonesia. I wanted to also share a little bit about the trends we're seeing on hybrid jobs. So globally, we see that employers are embracing flexibility in 2023 more than ever before. So we see that, again, this chart is specifically on hybrid jobs, but globally what we see is that these trends are similar. On-site jobs, so jobs that require you to be in the office all the time, fully on-site, has declined by 10% year on year globally. And hybrid jobs globally have been increasing. So this is an example or a snapshot for Indonesia only. So what we see is that job postings for Indonesia, this is a year-on-year comparison, so compared to last year, has gone up. So job postings I'm looking at October 2023, is 20% higher in October 2023 compared to October last year. And similarly with job applications as well, they're going up. Now, some of this comes down a little bit now because of hiring seasonality. People tend to hire less and apply for jobs less during this time, but we'll probably see it pick up again. And then there's no conversation that we have today that does not cover AI and AI talent. So what we also see is that globally AI talent is in high demand. And in Indonesia, we see that the demand for AI talent is 20% higher than overall talent. What does that mean? That means that companies, if I look at somebody who's got AI talent and somebody who probably does not have AI skills, somebody's considered AI talent, that means they've got AI skills, and someone who has no AI skills, the demand for an individual with AI skills, what we would consider AI talent, is 20% higher than the non-AI talent. So there's a lot of demand for AI skills in Indonesia, and this is a trend we see globally as well. Now, when it comes to the skills and skills penetration, what we see is that we have a real need and opportunity to develop more AI skills in Indonesia. So we've been doing some analysis on what we call skill penetration. So AI skills and the number of workers in the Indonesia talent pool that have AI skills, if I compare that to the global average, it's 0.72 times the global average. Now, if I look at some of the other countries that we've got in the region, in India, the AI skills penetration rate is about 3.2 times the global average. And in Singapore, it's 1.3 times the global average. Now, of course, this is all through the lens of LinkedIn data. So it's based on the member base that we've got on LinkedIn and the number of skills and the kinds of skills they have. But we do see an opportunity for Indonesia and workers in Indonesia to develop more AI skills because there's a demand for it. And then I wanted to also touch briefly on the impact of AI on the workforce. Now, we talk a lot about generative AI and the impact on workers and the impact on industries. So we did some analysis based on looking at all the skills that we've got on LinkedIn. So we've got about 41,000 skills that we analyze and track quite regularly. We looked at what skills in those 41,000 buckets of skills could be automated or improved or augmented, and some that will not be impacted at all by generative AI. So where can AI essentially take over some of the tasks required for certain skills? And then we looked at that within industries. So what we found is that there are some industries, based on the skills that individuals have in these industries, are probably going to experience more disruptions because of AI and AI tools and generative AI, for example, than other industries. So if I look at retail, tech, wholesale, financial services, professional services, what I see is that more than 50% of Indonesian members on LinkedIn working in these industries could have their roles disrupted in some way. And then there are about 5, 10, 15% of workers on the LinkedIn platform working in these industries that could use generative AI and AI tools to augment their roles. And then there's a segment of workers that will be insulated because of the nature of their jobs. Perhaps it's more people focused, it's less likely to be automated. Now, we've been doing a lot of this type of analysis on AI and the future of work. Now, if you just quickly look up AI future of work LinkedIn, you will see more of these reports and much more analysis that we're putting out on a quarterly basis on the impact of AI on the workforce. I think this is one of my last few slides. I'll stop talking very soon and very much looking forward to questions. So we also wanted to look at the green transformation. So let me go back to one of my earlier slides on, I think I said, more than 20% of skills needed for jobs have been changing since 2015 for Indonesia. Now, it's driven by digital transformation, the AI impact in particular, and then also the green transformation. And we are in COP28 week, so it's important for us to also talk about green skills and green talent. What we see is that globally, green talent is on the rise. Like, there's a lot of demand for green talent, but the supply is just not meeting industry demand. And if I look at Indonesia in particular, and green skills of workers within different industries, we see that there's some industries like farming, oil and gas, construction, utilities that tend to have between 20 and 25, 30% of LinkedIn members who've got green skills, but this is really not sufficient, right? If I think about the kind of transformation we need to meet our energy transition goals, but then also to meet our climate goals, we would need every single individual to have green skills to some extent. Now, you don't have to be that sustainability manager, or you don't have to be the solar wind turbine engineer, for example, but you would need to have some green skills in order to understand the impact of green and climate change on your role, on the industry, and on the world, and in order for all of us to collectively meet these green targets. So with that, what does this mean for universities in particular, but then also local governments who are tuning in today? One is, I think, because skills needed are changing so quickly, we need to have a more data-driven approach to curriculum development in particular. So a lot of what you may be teaching in schools could benefit from a more granular real-time analysis of what industry needs, what employers are looking for, and then also cultivate in particular this learning, this desire to have lifelong learning within our young people. That lifelong learning culture is so important because, as we see, it's just going to change, right? So whatever we learn in school may not be what's more relevant in the industry 3, 4, 5, 10 years after we leave school. And then finally, there is a demand, as I said, for AI talent and green talent in Indonesia. And we can't probably bring everybody back to more formal education, but how can we develop more short courses, micro-credentials, a lot of what Prakerja is doing, and then encourage employers to look at talent from look at talent from a skills-first perspective. How can we then help upskill a large segment of our workforce in Indonesia in order to meet what industry needs and to drive the country forward? With that, I'll stop my presentation, but I wanted to share 2 quick links that could help with some of the data that I shared today. One is LinkedIn's economic graph website. So that first QR code will take you to a website that's got a lot of the data that I shared, but then also data from other countries that you can look at. And then the second one on the right is our economic graph page on LinkedIn itself. And with that, you can find some of our blogs and articles and analytical pieces that we publish. I will stop there. And back to you, Rachel.
Thank you very much, Tricia, for such an insightful presentation. I'm pretty sure we have received some questions from some of our audiences. It's really great to see their enthusiasm about this topic. So the first question, I think we have a question from an anonymous attendee, what job vacancies in Indonesia are the most frequently posted by companies on LinkedIn?
So some of the job postings, or what we would call in-demand jobs, the emerging jobs, is the list that I shared. So you look at the list of the top 15 jobs in the rise. I think the first few in Indonesia in the last year and consistently over the last few years is content planner, data science specialist, human resources, or talent acquisition specialist. But if you go down that list, that's the top 15. But there'll be a new list and it's coming out in January. So look out for that.
All right. So I think that has been answered promptly by Tricia, that the list has been presented during the presentation. And then we have also the next question. It's a question from Mr. Hendrik Suryanto. When contemplating a career transition, what preparatory steps should be undertaken prior to embarking on a new professional path? And I think this question is relevant for most of the workforces in Indonesia, Tricia, where especially for students who are embarking on graduation. So, do you have an answer to that?
Yeah, that's such a good question, and something that we should always be thinking about. So I guess I'm just looking for oh, I can't send this. Okay, I'll send you, Rachel, a link that you can share with participants after this. But I think the first thing to remember is a career journey is never linear, right? We're never going to graduate from a educational program, become an intern, become a manager, get our first job, become a manager, VP, director, and you're running the company, right? So it never is linear. It's never a straight line. And we always should expect for all types of changes in that journey. It could be you take a break. It could be you take a sabbatical. It could be you lose your job. It could be you go back to school and want to upskill. So there are different ways in which we need to think about our career. And I think fundamentally it is about having that lifelong learning type of a culture and a mindset. And then also having that growth mindset, which is so critical. And this is why I think I said one of the important pieces is cultivating in our young people that lifelong learning type of a mindset. But then also if I think about it more tactically, it could be understanding the skills that you have. And how do you do that? This is why I wanted to share. I'm going to share a link here. I don't know if, Gloria, you can send it to everybody who's tuning in. But at LinkedIn, we have developed what we call a Career Explorer tool. You may or may not see Indonesia in there, but what you can do is you can have a look at the jobs that you want, the skills that are needed for the job, and the types of roles then that may be open on the platform. So that gives you an idea of, if you break down, say I'm a marketing manager now, and I want to become a business development manager. For a marketing manager, if you go on this tool, you'll be able to see then what are the skills that marketing managers usually have. And then how can I transition then into a business development manager? Some of them is going to be overlap, right? Because you probably need a good understanding of market research, for example, even if you are going out there and doing a more sales role. So breaking down and understanding the skills you have, and there are different tools available. One of that is that. And the second one I like to always focus on, because it's so important, is our network. Like, there's so much more you can do, and so much more you will learn when you reach out to folks working in the industry, seek out a mentor, and build those relationships over time. So you have that more quality. You can have the quantitative data. You can understand all the numbers and the trends in the data and how skills that people need for different jobs. But then there's always that mentoring aspect and supporting, finding support in order to get to that next stage of your career. So understand your skills, leverage your skills, upskill, and find a mentor.
All right, Tricia, thank you so much for the answer. I think it relates heavily on students, especially when you mentioned about network. It's a very important tool to expand and expose ourselves to the upcoming employment work that is entirely new and exciting, of course. And to the next question, Tricia, we have a question that says, When contemplating a career transition, excuse me, that was the previous question. The next question is, how do you account for blue-collar workers in your analysis for future jobs?
So the LinkedIn platform, currently in Indonesia, we've got about 25 million members. Now it's primarily members who are working in professional services, tech industry, financial services industry. So there's definitely, with any data set, there'll be biases. So in our LinkedIn platform and our member base, there's definitely a slant to more professional workers. We may not be able to get some granular insights of blue-collar workers, but what we do see is that what we can see when we look at least the professional workers on the LinkedIn platform is a direction of the skills needed, jobs that are in demand, and that can then help us inform our workforce development strategies for the largest segment of the workforce in Indonesia.
Thank you, Trisha. On to the next question. This one is very interesting, actually. What opportunities exist in the green job sector for individuals who have only graduated from elementary, middle, or senior high school in Indonesia?
So these are green skills?
Yes.
Green jobs and green skills. So maybe we can, I think sometimes when we think about green jobs, we think about the jobs that are, like I said, the wind turbine engineer or somebody working in renewable sectors. But how can we think about green skills for every single job? So I'll give you an example. At LinkedIn, we've been doing this analysis on what are green jobs. So those are the jobs that clearly require green skills. You would consider them green jobs. But then there are jobs that are greening or green potential. And an example of that would be, say you're a salesperson. Now, generally, your job may not require green skills, but now you're working for a company that's selling climate solutions. So you would need now some language on green skills, for example. So we need to think about every single individual having the language and the understanding of our climate transition goals, and some literacy on green skills. And you don't have to, doesn't mean that we all become a renewable energy specialist. And I know there's not enough jobs that would hire all of us, but there's an opportunity here for all of us to collectively gain some of that green skills literacy in order for us to get those jobs and meet our climate transition goals.
Right. Thank you, Trisha. So the next one, we have a question from Mr. Sharif. He asked, at what level of knowledge is the demand for AI talent? Is it entry level or advanced level?
Oh, I don't have that data right now. I have to go back and look at it. But what we see is that some of these AI skills, you probably don't even need to have had the formal 3, 4, 5-year university degree, for example. What we notice is that some of these tech skills you can learn on the job and you can upskill through shorter courses. I have a colleague at LinkedIn who's one of our data science team members. She leads a lot of the analysis that you see today. She did not study data science. I think she studied geography or something in school, and she's completely self-taught and did a lot of those boot camps. So I know we're asking a question on whether it's relevant for entry level or more experienced individuals. I think the nature of some of these skills you can learn, and we have data for it, you can learn outside of formal education. And that's where the skills first opportunity comes into play, right? If we try to help individuals, workers who want to upskill in these areas, we give them the resources and tools, hopefully that meets the demand for AI talents as well.
So I think your answer also reflects the spirit of Kartu Prakerja itself, where we are emphasizing the need, the urgency, the excitement to upgrade ourselves and upskill so that we can adapt to the ever-changing workforce. Thank you for your answer, Trisha. And to the next two questions. Oh, actually, we are actually having plenty of questions, but let me pick a question from Mr. Arif. How is the possibilities of Indonesia's job seekers in terms of their competencies to look for job and compete within the ASEAN countries?
So I don't have hard data for that, and I apologize for that. But what we also see is that a platform like LinkedIn offers everybody the same opportunity to take charge of their careers. So it could be, like I said, building your network is very important. Reaching out to individuals is very important. Upskilling, reskilling, and we see a desire, a need, an urgency to learn online as well from LinkedIn Learning, and we see those trends on for Indonesian members. So I don't have hard data on how Indonesian members on the platform compare with other members in ASEAN economies, but I think there are a lot of these tools that help workers advance in their careers.
All right, thank you, Tricia, for your answer. We hope that we look forward to any data that you can share in the next LinkedIn findings. So the next question, this is from, excuse me. Oh, this is from an anonymous attendee. The person would like to know, how do you think change regarding AI and green skills to informal economy, like micro and small entrepreneurs?
How does AI impact micro entrepreneurs and green skills impact micro entrepreneurs? I think first and foremost, when we think about that, I'll just pick AI because they're two slightly different answers, but let me pick AI. I think we need to think about the way we're thinking about digital literacy for every worker, whether you're working at a small company, you own your own small business, or you're working in a larger organization. The way you think about digital skills is that everybody should have digital literacy, right? Everybody should upskill in digital skills. We need to think about AI in the same way. We need to think about how can we upskill every single worker of the workforce with AI literacy skills. And for some individuals, it can be, how can I use AI tools to increase the productivity of my agricultural farm, for example? How can I improve the productivity of it? What can I use? What kind of digital tools or AI tools can I use? But then for other workers, it could also be understanding the ethical implications of leveraging AI. What does it mean for bias, for example, in data? What does it mean for using AI responsibly? And how can I upskill in AI skills in order to do my job better? So I think it's relevant, just like we think about digital skills. And Kartu Prakerja has so many digital skilling programs, some of which probably AI related. We need to now think about every single worker of the world should have AI literacy skills.
I think I cannot agree more with you on that, because AI is advancing, and based on your data, it does impact the industrial investments itself. So thank you for your answer, Tricia. And related to what you mentioned about digital skills, we have a question from Mr. Zainal. He would like to know, some people don't have a university grade, but they can learn about the knowledge such as SQL, Python, and etc., other relevant digital skills that are now available. How can they grow in LinkedIn or their LinkedIn networks?
That's exactly what we're saying today. Some of these more disruptive, more advanced technical skills, you don't need to have gone through a 3 or 4 year university program, for example. You can pick them up from data bootcamps. You can pick them up from online learning courses. For LinkedIn in particular, we've got LinkedIn Learning, which is our online learning courses. Like I said, there are over 22,000 courses that are available today. And there are a good number of learning courses that help individuals upskill and practice. So we've got what we call, I can't remember the words for it, but you can sort of whiteboard and do the coding on the LinkedIn platform itself, and that helps you learn as you're learning and as you are watching the courses, for example. So what I'm trying to say is that so many of these online courses are available. I know Kartu Prakerja has those as well. The shorter, crisper, very industry demand focused type of courses. And there are many ways in which you can access these types of opportunities. And LinkedIn is one of them. Prakerja's got a number of them.
Exactly. I think that's that's one of the sole purpose of Prakerja is to provide training for the Indonesian workers, and through this webinar, I think it showcases how both LinkedIn and Kartu Prakerja has commitment to further advance the workforce into skills force skills first recruitment trend, and we are look.
I like skills force.
Skills force, yeah, we can probably think about it for the next webinar. So I think we have a few more questions, Tricia, and I think we still have time for two questions. And this is a question from an anonymous attendee. The person would like to know, from your perspective, what are the immediate steps that universities can take to enhance digital skills of their students, provided them with the best opportunities to get hired. And I think that this reflects well with the most from universities career development divisions, and your answer would be valuable to this research. So please go ahead.
So that's a great question. And what I've noticed is that more and more universities are leveraging what I said, more data-driven approach to curriculum development, understanding what industry demands are. Now, there are different ways of doing it. One is you go out and speak to industry quite often. You engage with industry to understand what do the financial services need, for example, from a skills perspective. What does the tech industry want? What does the oil and gas and mining industry need from a skills perspective? And then you then go back and develop your curriculum based on that. In Singapore, what I've also noticed is that many universities leverage LinkedIn. We've got a product called LinkedIn Talent Insights. And what universities do is they can use that type of a product to see very in-demand, granular skills of what skills are needed from an industry, for example. So that's another way of doing it, but really that data-driven curriculum approach. What we've also noticed is that giving students access to something like LinkedIn Learning or other online learning courses where they have opportunities to learn in-demand skills on the go and constantly is also very helpful in I'm losing a word right now, but complement, that's the word I'm looking for, to complement what they're studying in school. So I think there's a number of ways in which doing it. For universities in particular, it's getting access and using more data to understand how the workforce is changing, how demands of the workforce is changing, but then also providing students with access to online learning courses and opportunities to learn. I know Indonesia does it really well in the Campus Merdeka program, and so many opportunities for students to also upskill outside of learning within their classrooms. And that's again another way for individuals, young people in particular, to transform their careers.
All right. Okay. Thank you, Tricia, for your inspiring answer, and I hope this will help lots of the audiences in here. And we are actually entering the last questions from Mr. Tengku Nabila. From Tengku Nabila from Green Academy. What would be your advice for talents who are switching their career to AI, and how does Indonesia compare to other Southeast Asia countries in terms of the amount and quality of talents that are doing career switch?
I think what we see globally is that there are a lot of individuals, workers globally who are looking to upskill in AI skills, right? As you said, it's a bit of a not just a buzzword, but it reflecting in the data, there is a demand. If I also looked at job postings, I can't remember now the numbers, so sorry, but year-on-year increases for AI jobs is significantly higher. So there's a lot of demand for AI skills and AI jobs. And if I think about, get a question again, my advice for talents who are switching, one is, I think I come back to maybe advice that I'll give to anybody in a career switch, and we should all be thinking about career switches at different stages of our career. But it's going back to your network, having that growth mindset, and always taking a skills first approach to your own career development as well. Like what can I constantly be doing to upskill in my role in order for me to be competitive in the next role? So it's quite consistent with that type of feedback and advice, but we definitely see it in the on the LinkedIn platform globally. And I'm sorry I don't have the numbers, but there's a lot of demand for AI jobs and AI skills globally.
I see.
If you follow the 2 QR codes that I shared earlier, you'll be able to see a lot of our analysis from our chief economists, for example, and our other economics team globally, and some of those insights may be relevant for your teams as well.
Right. Okay. And in terms of your report, I'm imagining the audiences might be wondering, does LinkedIn happen to have the data about how frequent do Indonesians change jobs in comparison to countries in Southeast Asia? And is it usually within the same career or the same job function, or does it happen in between?
Oops, sorry, I think there's a bit of a lag on my side, but I just want to say we do have those types of insights. We track job switching between industries and the extent to which people are applying for jobs and looking for jobs. We have that type of insights. I don't have this in my deck today, but what I can do is I can add 1 or 2 slides. And when you share these slides with the individuals who've attended today, I hope that will be helpful.
Right, great. And we actually have incoming questions. And luckily we have time for these questions, Krisha. So I believe we have a question from Mr. Muhammad Nur Ihsan. He would like to know if you can guide us on how to accelerate the upskilling efforts in details for big communities such as Nadine Society, which is a community organization in Indonesia, where they are spreading in rural area and provide SWOT analysis for Indonesian HRs among Southeast Asian countries.
So I don't have an answer for that right away. It's a big question as well. I can't do SWOT analysis right away, but what we have is I've got team members who may be able to get in touch with Ms. Mohammed and teams in order to help with some of the trends that we're seeing, particular to certain economies and certain communities in Indonesia. So I can try and get back to them separately.
All right, sure, no worries about that. And we just have the time for 1 more question, Tricia. So we have a question from Mr. Simon, and he would like to ask, with AI comes into the picture, how does this affect on diversity equity in the labor force, especially in Indonesia?
Yeah, this is a great question that we think a lot about on LinkedIn as well, right? We're a recruitment platform, or rather companies use LinkedIn and our products to identify and find talent. Now it's very important then for AI tools to always not have bias, for example, to always have fundamental principles of fairness and equality. And I think what we see in the region and then also globally is that more and more countries are coming up with frameworks on how AI tools should be developed and making sure that AI tools are developed on these principles. And then when AI tools are applied to recruitment, for example, for job search, for example, or identifying candidates, these principles are embedded in the tools. And that then helps to make sure that when these tools are developed, they don't perpetuate or accentuate biases. So I think there's a lot of work going on. I know ASEAN is doing some work on it. Singapore has done some work on it as well. Maybe Indonesia has also been doing a lot of work on this to help companies who are developing AI tools or leveraging AI tools better use them in a way that's transparent, fair, equal, that's not perpetuating bias.
All right, Tricia, thank you very much for your answer. And I think we have actually reached the end of our session. It is now, it has been a great discussion with you, and we really appreciate your time and your willingness to join us and share some of your insights with the audiences. Dan saya kembali ke bahasa Indonesia untuk Bapak Ibu hadirin sekalian. Kita sudah mencapai ujung webinar Job Trends Unveiled, Shaping the Future of Indonesia's Workforce. Besar harap kami bahwa materi yang disampaikan bisa menjadi pembelajaran dan inspirasi Bapak dan Ibu ke depannya. Terima kasih atas kehadiran Bapak Ibu serta rekan-rekan semua yang telah memberikan perhatian penuh. Lalu kami juga ingin sampaikan bahwa webinar ini bukan webinar yang terakhir. Dari diskusi yang telah kita dengarkan hari ini akan bisa menjadi inspirasi untuk webinar-webinar baru ke depannya. Jadi stay tune dan kita akan senantiasa mengupdate apabila ada webinar lanjutan dari sesi hari ini. Nama saya Rachel Gloriosa. Terima kasih telah menghadiri Job Trends Unveiled, Shaping Indonesia's Workforce. Thank you, Tricia, for attending, and we hope you have a very great day. Selamat menjalankan hari dan selamat siang.